Hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you're subscribed to Jay Speaks, thank you so much and welcome back. Today's conversation topic is going to be a special one. You see, it is my mission and my passion to bring to you all conversation topics that are positive, motivational, educational, and informational. Today's conversation topic is going to be on the facts and fiction about your mental health. I understand that the conversation topic on mental health is a sensitive topic and a delicate topic, but in reality, our mental health affects all of us. And more importantly, how we deal with our mental health affects the people around us. It is important for all of us to coexist with each other happily and healthily, both at work and at home. But now, please sit back and relax as I interview Dr. Paige Bentley, licensed clinical mental health counselor and supervisor, and I hope today's episode is an entertaining one. Thank you. So, Dr. Bentley, it's so nice to see you again.
Thank you. It's so good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your willingness to talk with me today. So, just to get things started, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I'm Paige Bentley. I'm a professor here at Wake Forest University School of Medicine. I have been doing counseling for about 20 years, working with students and members of our community. I also have a private practice, so I see a lot of folks in the evenings as well. I did my graduate degrees at Wake Forest and at UNC Greensboro, so I'm a local person here, been living in Winston-Salem for a really long time. And I'm really excited to be here. I just really am so inspired by what you're doing.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I truly appreciate it. I know we talked before at my company, and it was just such a great talk, and I just wanted to, have another conversation so we can get the word out. But yeah, you were talking about your background. So what motivated you to, go down this track in life?
Yeah, so I actually started out my career in journalism and PR. So I loved that work. It was creative, it was fun, but there was something in me that felt like something was missing. I wanted to do more. And so I went back and got a met with a counselor who suggested counseling as a possibility for me, but I had not really thought about it. But when I looked into it more and I thought about the people in my life who have really inspired me, I thought this could really actually be something that feels more meaningful to me. One of those people happened to be my mom, who, amazingly resilient person, has gone through so many hard things and just keeps bouncing back, and just an amazing human. And so to be able to do something that could help other people who are going through hard times to do something beautiful with their lives as well, I just felt like that would be really meaningful.
Wow. Curious, have you been in contact with the counselor since you've went down this path in life?
That particular counselor who put me on this path?
Yeah.
Yeah. She has retired, so I actually haven't
Okay.
been in contact with her specifically.
Well, I'm sure she would be very, very proud of you.
Well, thank you.
So let's get right into the questions. So question one, what is one thing that you wish everybody knew about mental health?
Yeah, there are actually two things probably that come to mind. The first is that mental health issues, challenges are really normal. It's part of being human. We're going to go have moments of ups and downs. One of my mentors and gurus in the world of mindfulness that I have studied a lot, John Kabat-Zinn, calls it the full catastrophe of life. Like, there's joys and there's sorrows, there's ups, there's downs. And so we have to learn how to ride those waves. So having something that feels hard and challenging emotionally, mentally, is a very normal part of being human. So that would be my first thing that I hope people know. I think one of the challenges I see for students that I work with here at the School of Medicine is that they compare their insides with other people's outsides. So they think, oh, everybody else looks like they're doing great, and I feel horrible on the inside. But in fact, everybody's sort of putting on this look of doing okay, but we don't really know what other people are feeling. And so I just hope people can remember that they probably are not alone in the feelings that they're having. I think that's really the second thing, is that you aren't alone in this, that other people are experiencing things and it can get better. We know a lot about what works to help people feel better, We're learning more about the biology of mental health. And so being able to have some faith that coming and doing some work will be helpful, I think can be hard sometimes. Sometimes we just feel like, well, I should just buck up and figure it out on my own. But we really are learning so much around working with another person, especially a trained therapist who has skills and training in specific areas, that it really can escalate and improve people's mood, emotional life dramatically.
Interesting, interesting. So on the topic of, stuff being hard, why is that something that is challenging for people to, I guess, digest? Like, that life is going to be hard, like life is going to be a cakewalk. Like, do you feel as though that, the expectation that life is going to be easy and it not being easy, has an effect on how people react?
I do. I totally do. I think the expectations that we have about life have a huge impact on how we respond. Expectations we have about how I'm supposed to, me as a human, how am I supposed to be in the world? We call it should. We have a lot of shoulds about how I should be, how you should be, how life should be. And life sort of just happens, and it happens in ways that are beautiful and ways that are hard. And that is the reality of it. When we go through life with an expectation that isn't based in reality, we're really setting ourselves up to feel hurt, angry, confused, sad, even more than we might normally be, because we have pain, and then if we add on the layer, well, we shouldn't feel this way, then we've got this kind of tower of suffering, right? But pain is going to be a part of life. But when we add in, I shouldn't be this way, they should act differently, whatever it is, then we end up feeling so much worse.
Interesting. Yeah. And with the different types of people that you talk to on a regular basis, with regards to pain, how have people been able to cope with that? Like, how have people been able to cope with their, personalized pain with their lives? If I'm making sense.
You are, yes. That's a great question. One of my, I think the hardest skill, but the most important skill dealing with pain of our lives, is the skill what we call radical acceptance, which is to radically accept that this thing that is here in my life is actually here. And once we can do that, it helps tame that energy, right? So there's this sense like maybe it should be other than it is. Maybe something horrible happened to you or your family member and you wish it hadn't happened. And you can get caught in wishing for things to be other than they are. And that's that suffering piece. When we can actually name, like, actually, that is what happened. That is the thing. Yes, actually, that human that I thought was going to be my mate forever is not actually so great. When I can actually acknowledge that, and then is when I can begin to make the changes that might be needed to make my life better. And so it's the same with the emotions that we have. When we can actually acknowledge, I'm actually feeling sad, I'm actually suffering right now, that's when we can actually take the steps we need to begin to make some improvements, make some changes. So that first step, I would say, is this concept of radical acceptance, which is super hard. And I actually don't like the word acceptance, but that's the phrase we have in our psychology world. It's really more radical acknowledgement of what is actually here. Can I be curious about it? Can I be open and willing to see what is actually here?
Wow, thank you for answering my questions and my follow-ups. My next question, so would you say, like, is mental health genetic? Like, if our parents had, struggled with bad mental health or, had some challenges in that area, are we born with, their traumas? Is it habit, picking up a good habit, picking up a bad habit in life, your environment, you could be surrounded with people who struggle with mental health, and because they struggle with mental health, you pick up their bad habits, and, you could struggle with mental health as well? Or is it more like, personality? Something that you kind of grow into over time, or none of them at all?
Yeah, it's probably a blend of all of those things. We are learning so much about genetics and mental health, and this concept of epigenetics, which is your grandparents' experience, sort of informed the DNA expression of your parents, and that informed the DNA expression of you. And so we may be carrying some of those historical traumas, those sort of legacy burdens, we call them, from grandparents, great grandparents who suffered, that may be sort of embedded in our DNA. But we also know that it absolutely has to do with our environment as well. There's this concept of a happiness set point, and we talked about it as you always came back to the same happiness set point. When people who had a horrible, life-altering thing happen, after about a year, they sort of came back to the same happiness that they were before. People who had something great happen, like win the lottery, you think, oh, they're going to be happy forever. But in fact, their happiness kind of came back to the same set point. When they did more research on that, they found that it was about 50% genetics, about the other 50% was partially what the context was. So if it is a loss, a big grief, that's probably going to impact you a little bit longer. But the other 40% is really within our control. That's how we act, how we think, the things we do. Those are things that we can work on in therapy. That's a big chunk of possibility for changing how we feel about life, ourselves. That it's really hopeful to me that it isn't like you're stuck forever in this particular feeling. And we also are learning that we can release some of those old genetic, the more legacy burdens. We can begin to release some of those as well. There's some more techniques that can help with that as well.
Can you go into that a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, one of the ones I have been trained in is something called somatic experiencing, which is a body-informed practice for helping folks who've gone through trauma. And another one is internal family systems. And I can't maybe explain the whole process, but part of it is beginning to get in touch with how our bodies might be holding some of those traumas. And sometimes it's even just using our imagination to identify how much of this burden is mine, how much of it may be somebody else's, and can I release whatever that percentage is. Sometimes people will imagine releasing it in a balloon up to the sky and just letting it go, and it does actually bring relief. As simple and easy as that sounds, people can begin to realize, oh, that grief that I feel is actually more my mom than me, and can begin to release some of that. Yeah.
So in order to release and, channel, those feelings, those thoughts, is that more so through meditation, prayer? Like what avenues do you more so see people taking in order to tap into those sentimental feelings?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say it's really probably unique to each person. So if I was working with you, I would want to find out what are the things that you're already doing that work for you, that help you feel a sense of calm, a sense of peace, a sense of relief in your body. And let's do more of that. What works for John may not work for Paige. But meditation is a big one. Prayer is a huge one. Exercise is sort of, if I'm thinking globally, some of the big things that we recommend. Exercise is a huge one. Just moving your body, getting your body moving. Those are huge coping strategies for helping people get in touch with and integrate, move through, get the emotions moving in your body and beginning to find sort of new ways of seeing different perspectives on the world. The other big coping is socialization, having connection to other people, people who hear you and see you, value you, who unconditionally can hold you and with positive regard. That we know is incredibly important. Biologically, we are wired to be connected to each other. So folks who have those connections do seem to have a better quality of life, seem to live longer, the research shows. So that's a huge important one, is that those social connection.
Yeah, your environment is very important. Now, speaking of an environment, I don't know if you might know this, but do you see introverts introverts and extroverts, talking about an environment. Extroverts are around a lot of people, introverts kind of stay to themselves. Do you see or notice that maybe introverts might struggle with, mental health a little bit more than extroverts because they are not, around a lot of people? They're more so to themselves. They keep their feelings in, and they're less, reluctant to talk to people.
Yeah,
I don't know
we
if there's a study
actually,
on that.
I haven't seen a study specifically. There may be, but my my experience is that there's no real difference. Most folks who are introverts have really deep connections to one or two people, versus an extrovert may have a lot of people that they're connected to, but
Very
they
true.
may not actually have those really deep, heartfelt connections with people. So I'm not sure I would go that far to say that one or the other is more likely to have a mental health issue based on their social connections, because I think they both just have different kinds of ways of socializing with people that work with their system.
Yes, it's the quality, not the quantity.
Exactly.
That's a very good point. So my next question, so do you feel as though it's important to examine your feelings? And would it be appropriate to allow ourselves to feel down, or should we dismiss this feeling? How should we go about that?
Yeah, super important. And we live in our Instagram, Facebook, in this world where everybody's posting like, I'm so happy, everything's great, look at all the fun things I'm doing. There's sort of this message of, I call it toxic positivity, like you have to be happy all the time. That's not reality, that's not realistic. We are human, and emotions are messengers. When we ignore that emotion, we are missing out on really important information about something that's going on in our life, right? So if I'm feeling sad about something, it's important to notice that. And we also know that when we tune into those emotions, they actually begin to move on through. It's when we ignore them, they can come back with a vengeance, like a rebound. It's sort of like trying to push a beach ball under the water in the pool. If you keep pushing it down, pushing it down, pushing it down, it keeps popping back up. It's not going to go away until we actually can acknowledge, oh, hey, sadness, yes, you are here. What is it you want to tell me? What is going on in my life that you want me to know right now? Some emotions, like anger, can be very scary for people to feel. Also super important, though, to feel it. Anger is an emotion of action. And so it's telling us, like, something needs to change. You need to do something. This does not feel right. We may not want to always do the action we want to do, because sometimes that action is, I want to punch somebody. Not appropriate in our society. But it may mean that I need to get myself in a different situation, with different friends, different people, that something needs to change. But yes, when we name our emotions, there's a phrase, name it to tame it. So when we can just say, oh, that's anger, oh, that's sadness, just naming it in and of itself can help bring that energy down. And when we name it, we also begin to recognize, oh, I'm sad and I'm okay, so I can handle it. It's sort of like if you were to climb a ladder. If you never climbed a ladder, you would never know you could climb a ladder. You only know you can climb a ladder if you climb a ladder. You know that you can handle sadness, fear, anxiety, whatever it is, when you can actually acknowledge, oh, that's what's here, and I'm okay. It builds our capacity to tolerate these experiences rather than having to like box them away, put them away.
And when you go through that process, is it more so saying it out loud, or is it more so writing it?
Great question. It could be either.
Okay.
Yeah, some people love journaling. Some people, journaling is absolutely not for them. Talking, having another person, I would say, this is why I believe in therapy, having somebody who can witness seems to be, they're doing more research on kind of the neurological reaction to being witnessed by another person, but it does seem to help those memories, those experiences get stored in a more adaptive way in our system versus if we just held them inside or wrote them privately. But writing it out for sure, like it's sort of like witnessing yourself And that we know is invaluable.
So can you repeat that? You said what was more significant than writing it down?
Well, I don't know if it's more significant, but I would say that having somebody witness you to speak your words, to have somebody else see and hear you, hold a mirror up. You know, John, I hear you're really hurting right now, and what you just shared with me. That experience, the research is showing that that does something. I can't say specifically, but neurologically, there are some shifts in the way we might store those memories. That we store them in a more adaptive way when we are witnessed by another human. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, this is just like a side thing, but like when it comes down for me to like, memorize or just not create, but to make my thoughts my own, I should say. I always write stuff down.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
Because like even like if I have to like write an essay, I could never just open up a computer and just type an essay. I have to write it down and go through the process of crossing things out, crumbling up the paper, throwing it away. And that really, just the action of writing things down, it just makes it my own. Interesting.
Which is, and so being a witness to yourself is incredibly important. And there is also something neurologically happening when we write versus when we type.
Yeah.
But again, it's what works for each person. I have some clients who typing is the way, they're never going to write. I know that writing is probably going to be a little bit better. I don't know exactly what's happening, but we're kind of wired that way. So it makes sense that for you, your brain, when you write it out, it gets in there in your system better. But when we witness ourselves, that's incredibly powerful. And writing is a wonderful way to do that. I've had people who will talk to themselves, videotape themselves, audio tape themselves, and then listen back to what did I just say. So it's, again, that sort of witnessing yourself in those moments.
And now for a brief and short commercial break.
Let's get back to Eden, live on top of the world.
Yeah, sing it to somebody.
Let's get back to Eden, live on top of the world.
Tell somebody and say,
Let's get back to Eden, live on top of the world.
say it again, say it.
Let's get back to Eden.
Okay, tell them how it is, y'all.
So Dr. Bentley, how does identifying your limits and abilities help you to make a decision?
Yeah, this is huge. I think we move through our lives often thinking we should be other than we are, and that can put us in positions where maybe we're not making the right decisions for ourselves. So being able to have some insight into what am I good at? What are some places that I'm not so great at? That can really help move us into a space where we can feel more of ourselves, right? So if I'm really know that I'm very good at talking to people, then being in a job where I am going to be having to be quiet or never say anything all day long, that's going to not be good for, I would say, my soul. Like my whole being is going to react in a negative way to that. But if I know, I really want to be in a space where I can talk to people a lot, then I'm much more likely to find those positions that align with what feels right to my system. We also know that leaning into your strengths, the things that you are good at, as a whole, just make you more productive, make you feel better. Your quality of life goes up in general. We do want to acknowledge places where we aren't maybe so strong, and I know we all are trying to, or many of us trying to improve a lot in our lives, and that is an important piece too. And being able to focus on strengths, and then, a little bit of like, where might I engage in some things that could help me get even better is an important part of being able to move through life with more happiness and joy.
Interesting. And I see that in my life as well. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy, discourse. And although this is a strength, the fear of the unknown, like, going into this type of setting, I can talk your head off, one-on-one without the cameras rolling. But, in a setting like this, it's a little bit different. I believe, the fear of unknown, even when you are, going towards a strength or working within your strengths, can also add a level of stress that can be that could be inhibiting in some ways, or
Absolutely.
cause some fear in that
Yeah,
way.
absolutely. That sense of uncertainty.
Mhm.
We as humans are kind of wired to know. We know what's happening because when we don't know what's happening, something really dangerous could come our way. So when we are, unfortunately, life is uncertain, and so when we have to sit in that, it can be very uncomfortable. And it's the space. So they talk about the comfort zone, the stretch zone, and I call it like the yikes zone. So if you're
Yeah.
stay in your comfort zone forever, that's fine, but you're never gonna maybe know like how might I have grown? What other capacities did I have that I didn't get to explore on this time on the planet? But I probably don't want to go all the way out to the yike zone where that's going to be like I don't have the skills yet to do that, and then I get kicked back into like a space of I never want to do that again. So we want to take those kind of baby steps towards expanding what we're doing, building on those strengths and expanding out so that we can really manifest who we're meant to be on this planet.
And do you feel as though what inhibits us from going from one zone to the other is probably the fear of
I
failure,
think
right?
so. Yeah, I would absolutely agree that the fear of failure. Some people will even say the fear of success can, for some people, can be a thing
Fear of
too.
success, really?
Yeah, like
That's a
it
term?
seems a thing. Yeah, for many reasons. You know, whatever that might be. Maybe my parents, if I get successful, then they'll feel bad, and I don't want my parents to feel like they weren't as good. So many reasons, but probably fear of failure, much more common, for sure. And we don't want to look like we don't know what we're doing. Our egos get really involved in the decisions that we make. So that is really important to note. You know, what is driving my action right now? Is it fear of failure, and what's that about?
So our egos can be inhibiting as well?
They can, for
Really?
sure. Yeah, we want to protect them, right? We don't want to look like a
Oh, yeah.
fool, right? We don't want to look like a fool.
Oh,
So,
true, true.
right, yeah. So I try to, you know, I might decide I don't want to put myself out there because I might look stupid or,
Stupid.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So the fear of the unknown,
Mm-hmm.
fear of failure,
Mm-hmm.
ego.
Yeah. Yeah, protecting our ego.
Is there anything else that comes to mind that could be inhibiting?
Well, certainly if we've had experiences in the past that were bad, so like if we have done something and we had the experience of being shamed or blamed or made fun of, that's sort of an ego piece too. Like my ego's already been hurt by that experience, and I never want that to happen again. Or maybe I took a risk. For instance, someone decided I'm going to take a risk and go travel around the world, and something horrible happened to them. They may then decide, I'm never going to do that again because that was really dangerous. And that is survival energy, right? That's our brain saying, that's threatening, let's never do that again. So there's some of that old survival piece of us too that can inhibit us from trying to take some steps that may ultimately be good for us and help us grow. But our brains might be saying, no, let's not do that. That feels very threatening.
And I'm sure they're all equally common, or do you see, at least, from a personal standpoint with your clients, do you see one fear being more common than another fear, or do you feel as though they're all equally common?
Yeah, I think where I am, because I'm at a medical school, fear of failure, fear of standing out is wrong. It can be a big inhibiting factor for students. What that means for them is not that they don't try, but that they end up working way harder than maybe they need to. So they don't take breaks, they study all the time because they're afraid of what would happen if they failed or if they didn't pass something or they didn't get into the residency they wanted to get into. So they work, it kind of pushes them to work more. It's not that they give up on trying, but that can, so the fear of failure can be a driving and a positive thing too. In this case, it sort of helps people keep moving, but sometimes in an extreme. So we want to be careful of noticing, is this energy pushing me too much or is it just enough, sort of that enough anxiety that I do the work I need to do to accomplish what I want to accomplish.
And thank you for that response, because that leads right into my next question. So talk about burnout.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
what is burnout? That's a very popular term that people throw around, but Please, if you don't mind explaining.
Yeah. So burnout, we really think about burnout as happening in sort of a work context. So it is work could be work as an actual like physical job where you make money. It could be the work that you do as a homemaker, volunteer work that you do. So it doesn't necessarily have to be work related to money. But typically, when we experience burnout, there are three things that people experience. The first is a sense of emotional exhaustion. They just don't have anything to give, they have no gas in the tank anymore. The second is a feeling of they just don't really care about any of the things that are happening or the people around them. They call it depersonalization. I just don't care about the people, the work that I'm doing. And the third is a lack of a sense of accomplishment in the work that you're doing as well, that you just feel like it doesn't matter. I don't even want to, what I'm doing has no value. And so when we start to see those three major hallmarks of burnout, that would be a sign like, oh, I probably need to make some shifts and changes in my life right now. There's burnout, and there's also this sort of on a continuum of things. We can have a lot of stressors in our lives that could lead to burnout. If I'm overdoing all the stress or trying to respond to all of these stressors, that could lead me to being exhausted in my work. So how we manage those stressors is going to have a real impact on whether we end up in a burned out space. When we think about how do we manage burnout, we do think about the individual, how they're responding, but also how is the environment that they're in responding. People tend to get burned out in work environments where they don't have a lot of control, they have a high amount of responsibility, where they don't feel respected or honored for the work that they're doing, don't feel seen in what they're doing, where they feel like a number. Those kinds of work environments can more likely lead to folks feeling burned out.
So that would be more so from a school standpoint, I would think, and of course work.
Yeah, both. But work for sure. Yeah, in a work environment. There are some work environments where people just feel like numbers, they don't feel, and they have to do a lot of work and they don't have a lot of control over the work that they do. And certainly we see that in medicine. There's a lot of expectations of productivity and charting and all the things that have to happen in a certain way. And you don't have a lot of control or creativity to make things the way you want them to be. So people kind of have to find the ways to find those places where they can have an impact and feel good about the work that they're doing.
And you talked about the three characteristics of burnout: the depersonalization and the giving up.
Yes.
Does that happen at the end of burnout? Like I would think like, if I'm working so hard for something and I'm not getting the result, like at that point I would just start to depersonalize. Or can you depersonalize at the beginning of a burnout? Like,
Yeah.
am I making sense?
You
Like,
are. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
giving up? I feel like you would give up at the end of a burnout, or would you give up at the beginning? Or at the
Yeah,
front?
you're sort of asking like, is this sort of a linear process?
Yes. Is it a linear process? Yeah.
It would make sense that it would be. I totally can see that happening. My hunch is that it's probably some kind of combination of things, but that at the end, for sure, you just feel like nothing. I don't feel anything for this job anymore. But it's probably this layering of I don't have any emotional energy for anything anymore in my life. I'm beginning to notice that I'm not caring about the people that I work for, work with, the work that I'm doing, and that they all may overlap each other. But absolutely, I could see that it might start out as just emotional exhaustion leading to that, though I haven't seen that specifically as a linear progression in the literature. Yeah.
Now, would you have any tips in order to, I guess, calm down, burnout blowing up in our faces?
Yeah. I think the first thing is to really notice and really be mindful of what is happening for you. Some of the things we've talked about already, being able to name what is happening and not just push it away. So I'm noticing I'm lashing out at my colleagues. I'm not having time or energy to spend with my children, my family, to notice that and name that. And that can be the first step towards change. So that mindfulness of your own emotions. And that may mean I need to actually look at my work environment. Is this the right space for me to be in? For many people who are in burned out spaces, they realize this is not the environment for me. It may be great for Joe, but it is not right for Mary. And that's okay. And giving yourself the compassion to make those maybe hard choices, but they may ultimately help you move to a space of more happiness and joy in your life. Yeah.
Interesting. And do you see it as a trend? You know how sometimes parents might suggest a college that you might go to, or people might suggest a job that you might apply for, and you following what other people tell you to do to appease them, to make them happy, leading to burnout. Is that pretty common?
Absolutely. We talk about the person-environment fit in career counseling. And so if the environment does not match the kind of personality and the way of being of the person, that is an absolute recipe for someone to feel burned out, because you're not using your strengths. You're not using what you're good at. You're not using what brings you joy. The things you value in life are not showing up in the work that you're doing. So absolutely, that would be a big indicator for burnout for somebody, which is why it doesn't necessarily mean that that work is bad. It just may not be that right fit for that person.
Interesting. But let's just say, for an example, you are chasing after a dream or a goal. The greatest basketball players, sports players, I mean, the greats in history, it doesn't even have to be sports, In order for them to achieve that level of success, they had to put in extra work. Is like stuff like that you can't avoid. If you want to be great, if you want to be exceptional at what you do, sometimes you have to go the extra mile, work the extra hours, and it might be an environment that can lead to burnout, but it is your strength. You see what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely.
It's just like sometimes you gotta put in that extra time, put in that,
Right,
so.
right. And that's a great image there, because we certainly know athletes who have pushed hard and do great and live a great life. And then there's some athletes who push, and then at some point they're like, I am having a total breakdown, right? It's just not, even though they may love the work, they may love the experience of it, it just may have been too much, too many stressors. And some of those folks, we don't know exactly what makes one person different than the other, but it could be more likely a combination of all the things that led up to this person A, but when they decided to become a famous tennis player, for instance, they also had driving parents and messages from the culture about how and who they should be. All these external factors might contribute to that burnout for that person. Whereas person B maybe didn't have that same experience. Their experience just felt different. Biology, again, sort of plays into those experiences as well. But yeah, we do. If we want to go for stuff, we do have to put in energy. That is definitely part of it. And so acting on our dreams, on our values, can require us sometimes to do the hard work of staying focused and not playing as much maybe as we always want to. But we do recognize that can lead to burnout for sure if we aren't careful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my next question. So if you are unfortunately struggling with mental health, at what point should you seek a professional?
Yeah. Again, this is probably unique to each person. So there's no strict message on that. In my world, we sort of think about mental health as a continuum of different symptoms, so sort of mild, moderate, severe. If you're in the mild category, you may be feeling sort of yucky for a week or two, but you feeling like, oh, I still feel engaged in life. I still have some hope for things. I'm functioning pretty well. On the severe side, you're not functioning very well at all. And I would absolutely suggest, if you're at that place, for sure to reach out. But you don't have to be there. If you reach out at mild, or even if you reach out, I say to our students, reach out to us just because you're feeling great. That's great. Come on in, make a connection, and let's celebrate what's going well and build on that. So you don't have to be in that category of mild, moderate, severe mental health bad. It can be, I just need a person to talk to who's not my parent, not my partner, not all my friends. I just need a space, and that is absolutely beautiful. So there's no cut point for any particular, once this happens, then you need to go see somebody. But I would say if you're at severe not functioning, please, reach out to someone.
Yeah, and you actually brought up something. I actually had an episode called, live in your present and enjoy your now. And you were just talking about, the importance of celebrating your wins. I had the episode and I was speaking on, my point of view and, how I interpret the importance of celebrating your wins and enjoying your now. But you brought that up. So could you talk about that? Like
Important.
it's so important.
It's so important. Because I was just talking with somebody this morning that we can get so caught in wanting to improve that we only focus on the things that are bad. Right? Oh, that was horrible. I need to work on that. But we don't give ourselves credit for all the many things that are good.
Yes.
And it's so, so important. It reminds us that we are doing good, that we're on track. It just helps us stay motivated. If we're constantly thinking about how bad and horrible we are, that is demotivating, right? Ultimately, then you just feel like, well, I don't even know why I'm trying, because I keep trying and nothing's working. In fact, you've got a wealth of things that are working for you, but you haven't seen them. And this is also our brain. Our brains are wired to see the bad. I call them like police scanners. They're monitoring what is not working. Where's the threat? And what's not working in me? Where am I not showing up well? And so in part, focusing on the present, focusing on the good is in some ways a little counter to the way our old brains want to work. They want to look for bad. But super important to catalog, to notice, to take in, to savor, anchor in to all those things that are happening well. I actually sometimes recommend people at the end of the day write a ta-da list instead of a to-do list.
A ta-da?
A ta-da. Like,
Oh, ta-da.
what did I do today? Ta-da! That was great and amazing, right? Yeah.
That's nice.
So that we can get it in our bones. Like, you are doing well. You are making changes. Whatever it was, I made the person at the Taco Bell smile. Yay, that was a great moment. Though we know that is helpful. So scanning for good is incredibly helpful for our well-being.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Bentley. It was a pleasure speaking with you. And I'm just so happy that we were able to make this happen. And I truly enjoyed our conversation.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this has been great. Seriously. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, John, for asking me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've reached the end of today's episode. Thank you so much if you made it this far. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you thought of today's episode. And see you in the next one. Bye-bye.